let's get to talking to Karlyn again, calling from Idaho. We're going to see if we can get you on the show. Karlyn, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Cool. All right. So
Good.
call was dropped earlier, but now we can talk to you. What's up, Karlyn?
I did call back in. Yes, I am having a matter in my own life, but I don't know where to ask for advice, and so I'm calling in. I am moving house in a couple of weeks from northern Idaho to western Montana, a town that I have wanted to move to since I was 8 years old, and it's finally happening. Paradoxically, this is an extremely religious town. I cannot go there without being approached by strangers on the street asking me to come to their church services with them. There is one theater in town that runs movies weekly. At least 75% of the time, these are Pure Flix movies. It's that kind of place. And I'm kind of bold and brassy, especially when people push me too far with their silly ideologies. And as I was saying to your call screener, I don't want the fire department to be a little slow in responding to them setting my house on fire with me in it if I'm not a carbon copy clone of their hand presser club.
Yeah, that's a tough situation.
So
That's a tough situation.
Just looking for some advice as you guys are engaging with strangers all the time who are married to their ideology. I'm going to be inadvertently in the same boat, and I'm sure I can handle myself better, and I'm looking for some tips.
Yeah. So I'll start off first, I guess, and then I'll let Kelley share his experience. But like I've been in that boat in the sense that I had to go back to my family and the world that I grew up in with this kind of change in myself and realize I don't belong in the same way anymore. And I had to reorganize some of my friendships. I had to reorganize how I spent my time during the week. You know, instead of going to church, instead of doing church-related activities, I'm figuring out what I'm doing instead with that. And that transition is difficult. And doing that, I've had to figure out when to keep my mouth shut sometimes, and when I could assert myself and not let people stop all over me and make me feel like that I can't speak my mind. There's definitely a balance, and I think everybody's going to have a different perspective on what that balance should be. Now I'm honestly more confident than ever. You know, I was saying earlier in the show that there's still times where it's hard, and it's still hard, but I'm definitely, now that I'm a bit older, I'm not under my parents' roof anymore, or as dependent on them and other family and things like that. I do feel like I can have a stronger place in the world and be able to speak my mind and say things when appropriate, right? But I guess it's really contextual. You know, like I think if somebody's approaching you and they want to talk to you about what you believe, you have a right to be honest with that. And you have a right to stand up for yourself. If they are coming to you, if they are approaching you with this and they want to talk to you, you have a right to be honest. You know, I like, as far as how honest you want to be, like, I guess you have to draw that line. You know, like, obviously we probably both share some negative opinions about what some of those people might think. And that can be tough to
entirely situational. But the last time I walked into a grocery store in this town, the man walking through the door behind me yells out to everyone within earshot, "May Yahweh bless you abundantly."
Yeah.
And all I can do is beat cheeks away from his direction. But when these are addressed to me, it's more frustrating, because the older I get, the more angry with these things I get.
Right.
And I don't really have that balance of when to not attack the person for being stupid and to dial back and explain to them that the philosophy they're heavily engaged in and have devoted their life to is really dumb.
Well, here's the truth, Karlyn. The truth is, you are not going to convince them, probably. You probably are not. And you are definitely not going to do it in a single conversation. It just really doesn't happen. Some people misattribute my story when that, you know, people talk about when I talk with Anthony Magnabosco that was the reason why I'm an atheist now, and it's not. And I've said this every time everybody's ever asked me about it. That was one stepping stone in a much larger process. If you're growing up in a system like that, for most people, it takes time to deconstruct. There's the occasional people who have that light bulb moment, and they attribute a lot of it to that, but I guarantee there's still deconstruction that has to be involved if you grew up in that system. So you have to be patient with yourself as much as you're patient with these other people. You have to realize, like, look, if you want objective reasons to be patient, here's what it is. Scientifically speaking, they're not going to change their mind. Like, it's just a statistical unlikelihood. And so if you want to live in accordance to reason and live try to make sense of your experiences, you just have to be able to have that sense of patience and knowing that there are things that I know that this person doesn't know, but I can at least shed some light here and there in a few places. Maybe you can point out one or two things that they got incorrect, or maybe you can talk about something that is most important to you in that. But I would say, above all else, Karlyn, above all else, personal safety comes first in any of this. If you don't feel comfortable talking about it, sometimes it's best just to keep quiet for a bit. And that sucks to say. And I hate saying it, but I've known too many people who have been in really dangerous situations, and I worry more about their personal safety first than I do anything else. So consider that metric first. And if you do feel like you can, like, try to be as patient as you can. Give the patience that they won't, because that's the best you can do, honestly.
I'm leaving a town that is somewhat cosmopolitan. About 100,000 people live here. Fewer than 10,000 people live in the entire county. And we make a joke about them having to hurry from one church service to another.
Yeah.
The moment these people get out of church, they have to hurry before they're late to church. They don't really have anything else to occupy their time or their minds. And it's not a situation where I've ever felt in danger. Here, there's just more people to absorb that. But when you really, really shrink that pool, I don't believe there is a single atheist in the entire county. I would be pleased to be wrong, and I hope to be wrong. I think I'm going to be the only one.
That might be true, but maybe they're just being quiet like you, and maybe they just watch shows like this one or other ones, and that's where they get their sense of community, because they haven't found that person yet either. You know, like I'm when I first was like exploring and kind of talking to people about this in secret, I was surprised at how many people felt the same way I do. You know, maybe they weren't all the way there using the atheist label, but there's definitely a lot more skeptics out there than what people can think. And usually it's the quiet ones. You know, they may not be the ones blessing you with Yahweh's blessing, but I don't know, maybe a public library, if they have one there, or some other kinds of meetup groups. You'd have to look it up. I don't know where you're at, but yeah, I would at least try before giving up all hope, right?
That is another thing that I'm pondering just in the last couple of days is starting even if it's kind of under the pale of come watch non-Pure Flix movies at the Express with us. Yeah.
Invite them to watch Space Jam. Yeah. It'd be wholesome for the whole family.
There you go.
I've never seen the
I would
well, that's
I would take Dan's
Go ahead.
I would say I would take Dan's advice and go check out meetup.com. You may already have a group that's in your area that's meeting that you don't know about. So there may be a community there for you already.
Or you could be the first one.
Is in Palmer.
Or
I may have to be the first one.
Yeah. And you get to be the change.
It could be. And then you might be surprised at how many people are waiting for you to be that first one. I've had that experience starting.
And a lot less intimidating.
I've had that experience starting clubs myself where we didn't know how we were going to do it, where we were going to find the people. And they showed up. They just should. The people that you need to show up will show up if what you're doing is right. And I think maybe if you do have to be that first person, I think you'll find a community. I think there'll be people there that will meet you and say, you know, I was just waiting for you to come along to start this up so we could do this.
Yep. And Karlyn, if you're thinking that's really intimidating of a project, get in contact with like some of the atheist community of Austin folks on Discord or just really anybody in the live chat even. I guarantee you there are people who are out there who are willing to help you get something started. They can have the resources for that. Absolutely. You're definitely not alone in wanting to start it. You might feel alone for a little bit, but it doesn't have to be forever. You can definitely make a change in the community that you're at.
You can contact me on the ACD, the Atheist Community at Discord, and I do have a little bit of experience starting nonprofits, so I'd be more than happy to share my experience.
There you go. There you go. So there's some options out there.
Be surprised when I do. Thank you very much, both of you gentlemen, for taking my call.
Of course, Karlyn.
Well, thank you. Just don't ever call me a gentleman again.
Karlyn, thank you so much for calling in. And like, I felt that same sense. I really did feel that same sense. And when I first met up with a group in my area, it was a SSA group, a Secular Student Alliance group. And those group of people, they helped me get through some really rough times where I didn't know where to go. And luckily they were folks that were around my age, so I could relate, to my life experiences a bit more. And that was really helpful. And for anybody that doesn't feel like they have a community out there, I'm so sorry that you don't, because it's something that I think most people need. I like, that was one of the benefits of church. That's what kept me in for so long, is that I knew people who believed the same thing I did. And I didn't know people who didn't. And if I did, that probably would have got me out a lot faster. So there's just a lot of work to do as far as building those communities for people. So keep building, folks. Keep doing it. We're getting there. There's more and more people coming and watching shows like this one every day. Honestly,
it's worth doing the work.
Yeah, it really is. And it's scary being the first one. So good luck, Karlyn. Good luck to you, and good luck to anybody who's trying to start communities or look for a community in their areas.